Hello everyone and welcome back. In this lesson, I'm going to introduce a project we'll be working on throughout the rest of this course. Each week, we'll go through a portion of the project together in the videos, from project conception all the way through analysis. If you've taken the previous courses, you've done some of this already, but we haven't formalized it and walked through it together. And we also haven't gone through the thought processes and what you should be looking at during each phase of the process. With this project, we'll do all of those steps together on video, but then each week I'll give you some things to think about, whether it's how we might approach the problem, where to get the data, or exactly how we might analyze it. There won't be anything to turn in or even a tutorial to follow aside from the videos. We're just trying to get you thinking about spatial analysis problems from start to finish. For those of you who want to think about and work on these problems in earnest, you can participate using discussion questions. We're structuring it as a problem we solve bit by bit each week for two reasons. First, that's how problems are often solved in the real world. You don't have the data given to you, and you have real problems that may not have a definite answer. So you need to be able to conceptualize the whole process, start to finish, and then break it down into chunks that you can achieve right now. The classic difficulty I see with new GIS analysts and new programmers is trying to tackle a problem all at once. I fall victim to this pattern too sometimes. The more you can turn a problem into smaller tasks that are easier to understand and troubleshoot, the better you'll be able to handle GIS projects. Now, because it's how projects tend to actually work, it's also how our capstone project is structured, for those of you who are taking the whole specialization. That project will be bigger and designed by each of you, but we want to make sure you have practice building a project from the ground up before you get to the capstone so that you can be more successful there. Okay, so now that I've laid out the mechanics, let's talk about the project. Since I haven't gone through this fully on my own yet, we'll truly be in it together. I'd like to know what agriculture is occurring on floodplains in California. For those of you who don't live in wet climates, floodplains are the natural places that rivers spill out onto when too much water fills the river's main channel. Growing crops in the floodplain presents opportunities both for habitat and nutrients, as well as economic hazards from disasters. And this information would be useful to planners, researchers, and emergency managers. Again, since I haven't gone through this yet, I'm not positive about what data is available and what my end result is yet. While I know that I'd ideally like a summary table of some sort, maybe grouped by county or crop type or region, and some resulting maps, I won't settle on an end product until I really know what data is available to me to start with. Sometimes you know where you need to end up and have to work backward instead, but in this case, we'll aim to summarize crop types in floodplains, and we'll figure out what options we have once we see the data available and can plan our analysis. My method is certainly not the only way to go about this. If you have your own way of approaching problems and feel successful with it, use it. This project isn't meant to be fully prescriptive. Instead, it's meant to help those of you with less experience in this area get some practice and aid in the process of breaking down a problem into smaller pieces. In this case, in my approach, the first piece is to survey the available data. Now that we have our project laid out, let's figure out what's next for each of us. Next up for you is to think about what data we might seek out to solve this problem. Consider not just what data, but why it's potentially useful for the analysis. Consider what the bare minimum is, but also what your ideal data might look like, so you can seek that out too, while still knowing when you've met the basic needs of the project. Also, think about where we might be able to obtain this data. What organizations or governments create this data? Will it be structured already into formats you're familiar with, or will we need to generate it ourselves through digitizing or some other methods based upon some other source data set? So, think about these things for a little while before you proceed. The next item in the course is a discussion question. Chime in there and engage your classmates in what you think we're all going to look for. Then, we'll come back together once more this week in a video where I'll continue on and search for the data with you. After that, we'll leave you to consider what we can do with the data until next week when we'll pick up the project again. Okay, think about what data we might want for now and jump into the discussion coming up next.